are. It's Tuesday. It's Every Object Tells a Story at the Hoboken Historical Museum. I'm Rand Hoppe. I'm the collections manager here at the museum, and I'm here with Bob Foster, the executive director. And we are all masked up, so I hope you can hear us all right. The microphone seems pretty sensitive.
Yeah,
so.
A little muffled, but we wanted to do this side by side, so
right.
We're following protocol.
Yes.
And we hope you enjoyed tonight's program.
Right on. So let's see. What can we start off with today? What should we start big or build up to something?
Yeah. Can I start with this?
Do it.
Okay. Here's this. I noticed it's a little drag time, right?
It is. That's not.
So we have a little delay.
You don't want to look at that. You want to look at this.
Good. I feel better. Okay. So we have this sort of innocuous box, cardboard box. It's frayed. It's been around, but there is something inside. And last time we met, we talked about all the different manufacturing in Hoboken. So
right.
This falls into that. And I'm pulling out of the same box this strange looking instrument. It is a musical instrument, and it's known as a ukulele. It's a combination of a ukulele and a violin. So this item was manufactured here in Hoboken. Its heyday was the 1920s. And when I looked it up today on the Smithsonian Musical website, they said it was still being made in the 1960s.
Hard to believe.
And I was thinking, when you were sort of chose your instrument in junior high, I remember cellos, I remember violins, but a ukulele in the 1960s? I'm sorry, a ukulele in the 1960s. Many people say it was influenced by Hawaiian guitars, which sometimes were played like this. And it may be hard to see, but there's no bridge. It's totally flat. And of course, it came with a simple bow. This bow, the silk is long since gone. Horsehair, I guess, was usually used. Mm-hmm. And how do we know it's made in Hoboken? You're going to have to trust me, because you're not going to be able to see it. But inside, I'm not even sure what you call this, but inside this opening, there's a decal that says something like the International Music Company, right. Hoboken, New Jersey, 14th and Bloomfield Street.
Hello.
Okay, so I forget what's on the corner of 14th and Bloomfield now. What is it, one of the restaurants?
The pizza place.
Place.
The Cole House Pizza.
Okay, so maybe in the basement there's boxes of these over there, I don't know. It actually gives the price inside in this decal. Wow. It says $50. So $50 in, shall we say, 1920 was, I don't know, it's definitely over $200.
Oh, yeah.
Could be more. Yeah. Could be $500. And they were manufactured in other communities. Apparently there were two companies that did it, that had patents. One was in Boston, and then they sold some of the rights or the patents to the company here in Hoboken. But it also had a Newark address, and it changed over time. When you start Googling this, you do see that there were problems in not so much the manufacturing, but the salesman tactics were a little shady. They claimed it was really interesting to play, and that you could send it back, money back guarantee, but they got a big deposit up front, of course, and claims that those deposits were not given back, and that this thing was a monster to play, because if you know about, shall we say, a violin with a bow, you need a bridge. So here it's totally flat. It's not like a beautifully made thing, like the back is sort of plain wood, but there is attempts to, shall we say, give it some classy design. The strings would get tightened up, almost like a piano string with a little turn screw, like a hex nut. And we have actually done ukulele concerts here at the museum. We might have 10 of these. The company's also made zithers and gramophones and sort of other type of designs.
Harp.
And auto harp for sure. And Rand, do you think we could find something where
Yeah,
they're demonstrating
I'm going to
this?
give it a shot. The technology is a little different today.
Right, we're
but-
certainly not going to try to play it for you. And I would say we get a phone call once a month from someone who's clearing out someone's house and they have found one of these. They're sometimes in excellent condition because they were never played, but then there are other ones that look like someone has taken a chainsaw to them because we feel they were really upset of how hard it was to play. So I think they're playing Amazing Grace.
They are, yeah.
Can we hear that? Or
I can,
you
but
hear it?
unfortunately you
Okay,
can't.
fine. So it's a good demonstration of this instrument. Again, made here in Hoboken, New Jersey. This particular one at 14th and Bloomfield. Who knew? Who knew?
I know, yeah, it's incredible.
I'm going to put it back in its attractive cardboard box, which
Yeah,
somehow has survived.
And I'm going to move back to us.
Okay, sure.
That was entertaining.
Okay,
And,
so-
that guy that person was really pretty good at it. But,
He was,
yeah.
he was. And as I mentioned, there are a few people who've adopted this instrument and sort of used it in contemporary music, and it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put that on the side.
All right. So one of the things that just when I've been here for 4 years now, and there's a significant collection, and one of the really fun things that happened when I came in and went to the collection space was I discovered that there was a significant collection of phone books. So, that's the kind of research work that kind of, can be very helpful for
Sure.
when we're trying to find out where a store was. We have a photo, we have we have phone books, so we can actually, they're not digitized, and but they are available. I think the oldest one we have is 1946. But we also have a significant digital collection of the city directories, which are what we had before there were phones.
Sure.
They would have these city directories.
And I can't tell you how many people call, they're trying to research someone from the 1960s or 70s, a
Right.
business.
Right.
And I just love to say, oh, have you looked in the old phone books?
Yeah.
And, because they think they have to meet someone who lived above the store,
Oh, right.
Something that would be really hard to trace.
Right.
And a lot of times the phone books are,
Yeah,
are
the
really
city,
easy.
we've had a lot of city directories have been scanned.
Right.
So we have PDFs of them,
Right.
and we're able to actually do searches. And the optical character recognition is not perfect, so you don't necessarily get the exact hits that you're looking for. If you're looking for 1218 Washington, you put 1218 in, it may not happen.
Right.
But the phone books, I don't know of them being digitized at all.
I'm not sure.
So
and again, if you look at the old directories, what's interesting about them, it's before phones, so obviously no
Right.
phone number,
Yeah.
but many times it does give the profession of whoever
Oh, that's
lived
right.
there.
Yeah.
And you'll see someone who worked at a tannery, or they're a dyer, or they make bamboo furniture.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
these
yeah.
businesses that don't really exist anymore.
That's true.
So they're kind of a time capsule for all the industries that were in a town such as Hoboken.
There's been a lot of I've put some time into searching the directories in the phone books, looking for references for all kinds of things. It's really pretty rewarding, and we have a great collection here.
Definitely,
So-
definitely. Should I pull something up here?
Yeah, do it.
This is in a frame that was given to us. Many times when someone donates an item, and we might deframe it for archival
That's right.
reasons.
Yep.
But some cases we keep it all together.
Yeah.
In this case, it may be hard to see. I'm going to block myself here.
Go ahead.
And what's here, I don't know if you're going to make it out,
No.
but these are all individual, I'll say, advertising cards, or actually tickets
Right.
for dances here in Hoboken for different social events. This was donated to us by Michael Buscino, whose son I've seen, I think he's since retired, his son. His dad, I don't think, would be with us anymore, but I could be incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love this item because people forget, you know, in the 1920s or before, shall we say, social organizations, social clubs, dances were like a big thing.
Yeah.
Obviously before Netflix.
Yeah, before radio, television.
Yeah. Radio's coming in, but
Right.
people want to get out
Yeah.
and have a good time.
Yeah.
And so these are a whole bunch of different social organizations in Hoboken that most people have never heard of. And I'm just going to give you a couple of them. One, we have the 6th annual ball for the Young Marty O'Brien Association at the Odd Fellows Hall.
Hey.
I mean, I got to explain so much here.
Go.
Young Marty O'Brien Association. Young Marty O'Brien was Frank Sinatra's father, and he had a reputation as being a fighter. Again, he would be of Italian descent, but of course, Marty O'Brien is an Irish name, so there's a little disconnect there and confusion. Apparently, in the day, people, the best fighters were considered to be Irish, and so Frank Sinatra's father fought under a pseudonym.
Oh.
And people would pay to see an Irishman fight, but they might not pay in Italian.
Right.
And people forget that Italians were discriminated against. And so just that change of name to be more professional, you know, before we had Rocky Graziano and people like that.
Right.
Here's poor young Marty O'Brien
Where
sort
is
of
it?
not using his real name.
Oh, wow, right at the top. Wow.
And
yeah.
along with that is that this particular dance that they're advertising for in this card, because these cards are actually tickets that
Yeah.
you would buy,
Yeah.
but they become a memento, an artifact, and it allows me to tell this great story. Anyway, this event is at the Oddfellows home. Most people don't know what an Oddfellows Association was, and it was a very common organization which still exists today, and it would be much like our Elks Club,
Right.
and there are Moose Clubs,
Right.
and there were the Woodsman Clubs. They're all over the country, but
Eagle.
in this area, you don't see too many Oddfellows. And I don't really know the derivation of the Oddfellows word here,
Yeah.
but they did exist, and the Oddfellows owned their own building,
Right.
which was, you know, you didn't have to rent a hall, you owned your building.
Yeah.
And an important revenue for that club was to rent it for dances and social
Right.
organizations.
Right.
And I think we have the address here
Right.
as what, 414
Yeah.
Washington Street?
Yep,
And are
so
you looking that up? What's there?
I'm going to bring it up.
We got the Euclid.
Hang
Okay.
on a minute. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay, it's on Washington Street. It's one of the classiest buildings in Hoboken. And on the top it says the Lining Store, but in an earlier day, it was the Oddfellow Hall.
Right.
I believe we have terracotta on that building. It's nicely appointed in tiles. And the business in there is anthropology. But in the day, it was the Oddfellows Hall. And there are condos above. But the hall itself, I believe, was on the top 2 floors.
Oh, wow.
And you had, it was like a big gymnasium. United Decorating was across the street, and they would decorate the hall for
Right.
all these events, and we have numerous pictures of that in the collection.
Right.
Fire escape is in the front, which is interesting, so
Yeah.
they sort of want you to know that you're safe if there was a fire, and there were fires at that building. And as I've been in the building before it's converted over, at one point it was used as a gymnasium, and the ceiling heights were like 20 feet.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it was
Yeah.
amazing space. And so that was the premier hall.
And that's why it needed to become a Blockbuster video at some
That's
point.
true too. Who remembers VHS tape? Which luckily we're not collecting.
That's right.
So what else we have here? The Big Tony Association
Oh, man.
was holding a big dance. We got the Anthony Neely Association, the Three Pals. Oh, there's some great names here. Puget Mulaney, you just can't make this stuff up. The Three Night Hawks. Anyway.
Three Nighthawks.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. William H. Davis. These are all names that are searchable, and we, you know, someone really wanted to spend time researching these different organizations. These cards give a lot of
Yeah,
information.
yeah, and it's
a great way to start a search with a simple paper ephemera artifact like
right.
this.
And it's great to have, you know, this kind of, it's almost, it's like memorabilia from this particular guy.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
it's
Mr.
real cool.
Bacino had a club. I would say not a club so much, but he had a basement space in the building. I believe it was Monroe or Madison.
Oh, okay.
And he had different like gaming tables down there that were really old and a lot of fun. Not sure what happened to them.
Wow.
But this was one of his prized possessions.
Wow.
And I remember walking by and he said, "Hey, kid, come on in." And he invited me and he showed me this and knew that we were looking for artifacts. And luckily, we were able to secure
Wow,
it.
that's
So
very
thank
cool.
you, Bacino family.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna briefly do a little bit of that. Okay, so what else do we have?
You want to do Hudsonia, or you want?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do Hudsonia.
Sure.
We'll go with the big hitters here.
Okay. So not sure how this really reads to you guys. This is a uniform. It's not Sgt. Pepper's Parade for the Beatles. It's actually it's velvet.
Yeah.
And we have several of these.
Yeah.
And these are from a club that was here in Hoboken known as the Hudsonia Club. And this club probably started in the 1870s, the first wave of German immigration. And these guys who are the member of the club were fencers.
Right.
Okay? And this was on, what did we say,
506 Court.
506 Court Street, which I haven't been down there for a while. Court Street personally is my favorite street. When I walk down that street, I swear I can hear the horses and the wagons
Yeah,
go
yeah.
down the street. And you would have gone by this building, and very simple, in the day, the other side on Washington Street was what, Cafe Louis?
Cafe Louis, it's Karma Cafe now.
Karma Cafe, to give you a little,
Yeah.
context.
Right.
And we have quite a collection from this club.
Right.
But when I visited them, gosh, it seems like yesterday, but it's before the museum. It's probably 25, 30 years
Sure,
ago.
yeah.
And the last of the fencers were still kind of showing up,
Wow.
but there were only two of them. And they would wear this uniform and they would practice fencing. There was obviously drinking involved.
Well,
And
thank
they
goodness.
had, it was like almost an old stable that was converted into this club.
Right.
And one of the features was they had a closet on the second floor where they would, in the room on the second floor, they'd be fencing, but they had this room they called the knockout room. And if someone had drunk too much, they didn't want them fencing, and they'd lock them in this closet. And when you walked in there, it was furnished with all these objects from Germany that they had brought over.
Wow.
There were some other ethnic groups represented. I remember there was an Italian guy,
wow.
and we know all that from their logbooks.
Oh, okay.
And the woman who was sort of running the club was the daughter of the last of the fencers. And we have a couple pictures.
We do.
Do you want to
Yeah.
bring that up?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
All right, here we go. Let's.
But I feel very lucky to have sort of witnessed the tail end of the club.
It's amazing that you were able to do that.
We used to bring tour groups into this place, and it was like a real time warp.
So this is.
So people are seeing this now?
I believe so. Yeah. I just
Okay.
want to
We hope you're seeing this image.
confirm it. Yes. Yep.
So-
there we go. They
So
are
if you are viewing it, you're looking at a black and white photo, which people could also reference later by going onto the museum's collections
Yeah.
website, which is pretty easy to use and
Yep.
all free. And this is the front room of the Hudsonia Club, which essentially was a stable converted it was on Court Street. It's the width. There's some width there, but the depth is not that great
Right.
because it borders on the buildings on Washington Street, and you're actually seeing an open casket for one of the Hudsonia guys, and again, here's what. Oh, they're not
They can't
seeing
see
this.
that.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
but if you remember, there's a jacket,
That's the jacket,
that I was
yeah.
holding up before, and it's the same velvet jacket with the piping, and we do have those hats that are in the picture.
We do.
And I was told that when someone died, they would have a wake for them in the club,
Right.
and that symbolically they would break their sword and put it into the coffin,
Oh, wow.
that this was sort of the end of the line.
Right.
And I think in this picture you can see some of the light ornaments, which are kind of like, almost like medieval mace. I don't know what you even call that, but almost like weaponry, like a ball and chain kind of thing.
There's some
And-
bat on the wall.
What's that?
There's
Oh,
a
yes,
really
there were
cool
bats.
bat.
They really had a sense of humor. And apparently they would go visit Germany quite a bit and bring back things from the old country.
Wow.
And some of them they would paint. They actually did painted decorations around the place that
Wow.
all reference the old country.
Huh.
And of course, we don't have this, but there was a log book, which every time they had a meeting, they would have a roster of everyone sign in, and there would be an illustration of something that happened at the meeting.
Oh, wow.
And so that book, again, this became real estate, as most things in Hoboken do. And the objects supposedly were brought to Sotheby's or one of the auction
okay.
houses. And we did have a fantasy that we could buy this place. But that was not going to happen just
Right.
because of the high real estate prices. But if there was ever a place that should have been preserved interior-wise
Yeah.
and that was intact
Yeah.
and spoke to Hoboken's rich immigration history as it related to Germany,
Yeah.
this was it.
Wow.
And again, it was known as the Hudsonia Club. And there's quite a few artifacts online, pictures and so on. And one of the main photographers at the time was a guy named Magnus. And Magnus was a member of the club
Yep.
and photographed a lot of the events there.
Yeah.
So he was kind of their almost private documentarian.
Right.
So just a little nice grouping of artifacts
Yeah.
from the Hudsonia.
Yeah, you just have to put Hudsonia in
Right.
on the search, and you'll get a whole bunch of great
Sure,
stuff.
sure. And again, that's by going to HobokenMuseum.org, and there's a tab on the far right that says Collections.
Right.
And a lot of stuff is on there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what's next?
What is next? Well, I actually, we could talk just a little about this. This made it to our way pretty recently, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's actually it's got the caduceus here, I think they call that, and it says Tourmaline 1948. And I didn't really know what it is, and opened it up and discovered that it is actually the yearbook for the class of 1948 for the St. Mary's School of Nursing. And that just kind of, I don't know, that really tickled my fancy. I thought it was an amazing thing that, there, of course, there was a hospital, and that it had a whole school of nursing. So here we have the.
Not quite a university yet.
No, that's right. Yeah, not a Hoboken University, but we've got all the faces of all of our the nurses there. It's just.
Right.
Just
We
really-
do have one of our favorite people who worked at St. Mary's and was a nurse was Rose Orozco, and we did a chapbook with Rose.
That's right.
And this is too early for Rose.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think she was actually trained out of that school of nursing.
No.
But we have met many nurses
Yeah.
over the years, and very proud of their, shall we say, training.
Yeah.
And I believe they still do a luncheon every year.
Oh yeah.
we do usually get invited and usually not able to make it.
Right.
But, people, often reference the high quality of nursing from St. Mary's. Of course, that building is totally torn down.
Yeah, that's right.
In the, late 60s?
60s,
I
early
think
70s,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, with yearbooks, I mean, even the high school yearbooks or the Stevens yearbooks, there are advertisements in the back
Sure.
that allow us to kind of identify local businesses and local people.
Right.
So
Sort of like phone books.
kind of like a phone book.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always fun to, when we really go into detail when we're cataloging these things, to put these names in and put what's here, and then people can find their families or their ancestors.
Sure.
I think it's really cool. So it's the yearbook from the School of Nursing.
And we do have a lot of yearbooks.
We do.
And of course, yearbooks still get produced every year. And just a nice shout out to the Hoboken High School.
Yes.
They send us their yearbook every year,
They
so
do.
we don't have to go,
Where's your yearbook?
we don't have to go
No,
over there and say, please get us a yearbook. So they, over time, the museum has really sort of made a difference, I think, in the community, that people realize that we do take collections seriously.
Right.
And that if they want something to survive, they want to give us a copy.
Yeah.
Okay? And even to, older folks, I hate to put it this directly, you can't take it with you.
Yep.
And who's going to save it?
Yeah.
And so we're here for the long haul, so
Yeah.
we feel we're good caretakers.
We are.
So definitely consider the museum as a depository for, shall we say, paper ephemera.
Yep.
To more of a high quality, artifact on
Yep.
there. And during this pandemic, we haven't really cataloged it, and we're not sharing anything with you, but we've gotten a lot of promised donations. We haven't been able to secure them yet.
Right.
But people are home, they got time.
Yep.
Usually no one has time. We're all running around. But they are cleaning the attic. They are letting things go. And so, we're going to have a lot of, it's one of the positive things during this time period.
Sure.
Is that we're going to have a lot of things coming our way.
Yep.
And of course, eventually they'll go online, but they will be, shall we say, saved for now. Okay? And
Yep.
we'll make them more accessible.
Yep.
What else we got?
What else have we got?
You want me to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. This is I was actually going to wear this, and this is from our Every Mask is a Blank Canvas project, which has been highlighted a lot in Hoboken Girl and also in the Hudson Reporter, where we ran a contest and we had different individuals create a personalized mask out of one of the disposable masks. And we have them now on display outside the museum. Anyone can check out. This one's by Frank Hanovan, and I think we have about 80 on display. And in a sense, this is a contemporary artifact. What do you collect from COVID? Obviously, we're doing oral history project now. That I'll say that Sylvia Schwartz has been our
Number
savior.
one. Yeah.
She's been interviewed probably 20 people. But these masks are also important as a visual thing.
Yeah.
So when we do an exhibit on that subject, eventually, we will combine the oral histories with this type of object,
right.
along with photographs and
Yep.
things like that.
Yep.
So again, it all helps tell the story. So come by the museum in the walkway and you can check out our mask contest. And should I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. I'll have to read it. Just a hunk of metal.
Yeah.
And this was removed from one of the fire escapes in Hoboken, which we might even get fined for. I think it's illegal
That's
to
right.
move
It's
them.
illegal to remove.
That's right. And you have to think of, obviously fire is still an issue out there. And one of the main ways to get out of a building, an apartment building, would be the fire escape.
Right.
I'm going to guess a lot of these date from before World War I, and there were some major fires with major fatalities, such as the Triangle Fire in New York City, which
Sure.
was something you can check out, a horrible tragedy. And municipalities got very serious about fire escapes.
Right.
Some are in the back of the building, some are in the front. And this is sort of a tag that would go onto the fire escape. And I'll just read it if I can. It says, notice, anyone placing an encumbrance on this balcony or stairway will be fined $10, or the objects forming such encumbrance will be confiscated.
Wow.
Okay?
All right.
So a lot of ways to tell the history of a town. But, oh, sorry.
Hitting the mic.
Hitting the microphone, yes. Busting your eardrum.
Yeah.
But think about, the safety issues if you blocked a stairway or if you blocked a fire escape. Okay?
Right.
And again, fire escapes are still super important, when they're doing code, if they're checking out issues on a building,
Yeah.
they make sure they're freshly painted, that they work,
Right.
and so on. And fire escapes help tell the story of a town, and this little tag is part of that story. This one has been cleaned up and painted. I've never seen one in this good a condition.
Right.
Many times they have about 40 coats of paint on
Yeah.
them, and you can't read it. I think whoever gave this to us, which I could look up in the collection because it does have an ID number, that they really wanted to make it into an object.
Right.
Normally, we might not clean something up like this person did, but we do have several of them, and it actually does help tell the story that we can actually read this
Right.
thing on there. So I'll just putting that down here. And
Right, you have a...
can I go here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm not sure if this is
just
reading.
get it right
I'm
in
just going to
there.
get it right in there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
There
like
you
a
go.
little metal car.
Yep.
It's sort of emulating a Model T, but it's actually, faux. It's not, to scale, but I mean, it's beautifully done. And if you look closely, it says, can you read that anywhere?
not
On the
really.
bumper? No? I'm
So
so,
this is what we want to see.
okay, we can see the bottom, I
Yeah,
guess,
so
right?
the bottom.
Okay, you can make out the words Maxwell House.
That's right.
Okay, so this was given to us by someone who had worked at Maxwell House for years, and I would call it kind of a whimsy, kind of an object, but, I should have done a little more research. There was a gentleman who kind of specialized in this kind of work, and when he heard that someone was retiring from Maxwell House Coffee, which was one of the largest employers here in Hoboken
Right.
since the 1930s or late 30s until when it closed. But when someone was retiring, they would have a dinner and they would get one of these cars.
Oh, that's great.
And so someone walked in here once, and he was not the maker, but he just thought it would be a good home for us. And of course, we have a zillion manufactured items from Maxwell House in terms of packaging and cannery and all different products they
Right.
made. But this was sort of made to give as a gift to people.
Like Sanka.
Like Sanka. Here's another one.
That's one of my favorites.
This is a Bliss
Bliss
coffee.
coffee.
I'm a bit of a coffee hound, so I probably would just associate coffee and Bliss.
Yeah.
On there. And it's hard to read, but it does say Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yes, it does. You got it.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
boy,
one
that
too.
can looks big.
Yeah,
This
let's
is
see.
really just a 1 pound can.
Right.
We must have about 40 cans
Yeah.
from from Maxwell House.
Yep.
And the canning facility there. And some of them still have the coffee in it.
They do.
And they all have slightly different advertising. And I can remember when Maxwell House was still operating, and you would go by the canning building, which was on Hudson Street and 11th. It was a building that was covered with a lot of ivy. and you could just see the cans stacked up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd always take more, but we do have a lot. We do have a lot. Again, with that packaging theme, one of the things that most people don't realize that General Foods also made was that they made log cabin maple syrup.
Yep.
Which I'm sure did not smell great,
No.
you know, coming from the big smokestack.
No.
I'd rather smell coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee is bliss.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a whole series of these, and we must have 7 or 8 of them, and they all have kind of different themes. The idea is that you collect them all, and
Have a village.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And again, it says General Foods Corporation, Hoboken, New Jersey. And this one is in excellent condition.
Right.
I can remember these in the stores either in the late 50s or early 60s.
All right.
I'm dating myself, but usually they've been, some people were using them for target practice
Right, sure.
with their BB gun. The tops are gone. This is about the best condition I've ever seen. And a shout out to Justin Silverman, who's donated a lot of these manufactured canning materials.
That's right.
And we actually have a little display in the museum thanking Justin. And so many people love to see all those cans because they have a family member who either worked there
Right.
or used to somehow, you know, shall we say, fill the cabinets at home with these products.
Yeah.
And they always remember them. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a visual memory,
Yeah.
shall we say.
There was somebody was making a book about maple syrup or log cabin syrup, and we actually did provide images of some of our artifacts for
Sure,
that book.
sure.
It's one of the,
Yeah,
the other
I'm-
things we do with our collection.
And can you talk a little bit about that? If someone, how does someone use our database?
Well, if they go to the database and they do the searches, or our database is actually on part of Google. You know,
That's what I was getting at.
So you can, if you put in log cabin syrup canister, you'll get a hit on our site.
Sure.
And go to our site, and then there's a way that you can request this image, I believe, on the when you click on the photo, and you fill out a form, and it comes to me.
Right.
And a lot of times, some people, like we had this great guy up in the Poughkeepsie area whose grandfather was a nut tester at the testing building down at the piers. So, and we had a photo of his grandfather with a bunch of nuts. So we printed. He requested some prints of that to basically blow his mother's mind. So,
Right.
like here's this picture of your father.
Okay, he
But-
actually did do that job.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
right.
it was. But that's like a personal kind of connection. But we
Right.
do get professional requests as well from scholars or writers or publishers,
Right.
where they're like, "Oh, I'm like I mentioned, I'm making a book about syrup or log cabin or something."
Sure.
And that's we actually charge a fee, slightly more of a fee for that than just personal stuff.
Right.
And I'll often say, here, give us this amount, give us this fee, but then send us the book, please. So then.
Right, so it adds to the collection in
Adds to the
another
library.
way, and
Right.
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 It's funny how that shows up on a Google search.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, let's say there's a company in town called United Testing, and
Right.
which has long gone out of business, and is now a building, right? It's the building on like 15th Street and Garden, right
Oh,
around
yeah.
there.
Okay.
So anyway, people will call up saying, "Oh, we tested our washing machine in 1961,
Right.
and we'd like you to pick this one up so we could, sign a contract and test it again." And we kind of go, "Sorry, you're not calling United Testing,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
calling the archive. How can we reach United
Yeah,
Testing?"
yeah,
So it
yeah.
does. You get into some interesting conversations.
It's true. That's right.
And generally, when people call, we pick up the phone. So we got a lot of interesting requests.
Yes.
Tonight, before we started this, there was a guy who called from Texas,
Right.
and he wanted to know about a particular model of Ferguson furniture that we have. We don't have the same one, but it comes up.
Right.
And so any of the major companies that were here in Hoboken, we have an artifact.
Yeah.
And eventually we hear from people who
We
are
do.
either collectors or scholars.
That's right.
And, you know, it makes you feel like that's why we do this.
Yeah.
And to connect with people.
Yeah.
It's not a big income, but it is part of the museum,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I have these very simple hooks here.
Right.
Okay. And most people will recognize, wow, that hook looks huge.
Yeah.
I love that hook shot. Almost looks like a sickle. But anyway, these are longshoreman hooks. And anyone who has seen the film On the Waterfront remembers Marlon Brando kind of wearing this on his leather jacket. And of course, you know, this is used in other industries, like a farmhand might use it for hay, but it's really associated in an urban area with unloading cargo on a ship.
Right.
And not for fighting, it's not a weapon, you know, it's nothing to do with Captain Hook or Wendy or any of that stuff. And they are strong. Many of the ones we have initials in it, so
Right.
they don't get confused. And usually we try to note who donated this. I used to joke that if you were checking out an older building, it was having a gate sale or something like that, and you got to go in the basement, you would find at least one of these in the rafters.
Yeah.
And many times I'd go to a house sale and they would say, oh, there's nothing in the basement. And I'd come up, you know, up with
them.
like 2 or 3 of these hooks. And they go, oh, you can have that.
Right.
And I just felt like that was my job, is rescuing hooks.
Yeah.
Most people have not seen this type of hook. And these were, I don't know if they have a distinctive name, but they're kind of like mini hooks. And these would have been used for more dragging, let's say a 40-pound bag of coffee.
Okay.
And we've done chapbooks interviews with several longshoremen. Tom Hanley comes to mind, and he would talk about using these hooks. And Red Donald Barrett also was a longshoreman. He's no longer with us. And he would talk about these hooks. And Donald would talk about, he was really always insistent that he would carve his initials into these.
Oh, okay.
Just so someone couldn't just pick it up.
Right.
In a sense, it's almost like if you have a pen and you really care about that pen.
Or a red stapler or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those are the hooks. And
We've
it's hard.
got some hellos from some
Okay,
people,
there you go.
Thaler and Bill Curran, Lois
Excellent.
and Ellen
Excellent.
Stewart.
Any queries or
No
more?
queries, just saying
Okay,
hello. You know,
sure,
so that's
definitely.
nice. Thanks. Good to
It's
see you
hot out
guys.
there. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we feel connected with you.
Yep.
And
Can I
let's
show
see.
some pictures?
Please,
Yeah, I've
please.
got some pictures.
Yes.
Just something that I enjoy. Let's see, where is it? No, not that. The nope, not that. Oh, here we go. It's Memorial Day, and it is a parade.
So we're looking at a page from the online
This is
collections database.
That's right.
Which
So-
those of you who are on now should be familiar with, and please spread the word.
Yep. So this is the 1947 Memorial Day parade, and I just love this picture because you're basically looking from kind of like above Mikey Squared, I think, something like that, looking east. Here on the corner is the pizza place, Giovanni's Pizza.
So what block are we on?
This is the 600 block of Washington.
On the east side?
On the east side.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So Giovanni Pizza is here on the corner. The Alberta Market would be probably Empire Fitness, I think.
Okay.
Right. But what really cracks me up is this upstairs, which is also Empire Fitness. is a bowling alley in 1947.
Oh, okay. I don't even recognize that building.
Right.
With the slanted
Yeah,
roof. It's
yeah.
kind of like you know, they're not very different from most of Hoboken's
Yes,
architecture.
yes.
on
So,
there.
and so then there's the A&P next to the Alberta Market,
Okay.
which I think might be the bank. No, that's the doctor's office now, I think.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I'm just really enjoying the bowling alley upstairs.
Okay.
That's really the whole point to
Sure.
show in this picture.
Okay.
Um,
And does it say bowling alley?
yeah,
or-
oh yeah, it does.
Okay.
Right in the
Sure.
center. There's a sign.
You know, we do have a lot of pictures of parades because
We
typically
do.
that's when people would photograph, like
Yeah.
an event.
Yeah.
But I have to say, we usually don't care about the parade.
Right.
Because you can't really recognize people.
Right.
We look at the storefronts.
Correct.
We just glaze over quickly and look at the hanging signs,
Yep.
the graphics, things like that.
Yeah.
And that A&P was a very early A&P.
Yes.
Atlantic and Pacific
There are a
Tea
lot
Company.
of A&Ps in town.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know, you could almost do a supermarket history in town.
That's
and
true.
A&P is really early.
Yeah, I mean
know.
the M&T Bank in the Pulsey's store on Washington between.
That was an A&P
that
also.
was an A&P.
Yeah, we have pictures from Mike Flanagan of
Right.
that. And I never heard anyone talk about that one.
The Rite Aid / drugstore. What's it? Walgreens that's on 13th
Right?
and Willow.
Okay.
Was an A&P.
Uh-huh.
Crazy.
Yeah,
A&Ps were everywhere.
that's right.
But anyhow, that's and then there's just some people. But I love that set of photos just because of the bowling alley and the A&P and all that
And
stuff.
in those days, in the 40s, I'm not sure, but typically older bowling alleys, that was like a job for teenagers.
Pin
They
setter.
A pin setter.
Yeah.
And the Elks Club in the basement had such a bowling
That's
alley.
right.
And people would talk about, like, you know, that was their job, pin setter.
Yeah.
And,
All right, so we're going to go back.
okay.
All right. And I need to go back to the people. Hello. Oh, there's Paul and the Champion.
Excellent. How you doing, Paul? Good to
And,
have you sign in.
yeah.
And Lois, who's on, she'd know about ukulins.
She did.
She did. Yes.
All right. What else do we have here?
I think we're kind of winding down.
We are.
You have a
Oh!
life ring over
I
there?
do. Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna make sure I
You want
don't
me to get it?
pull out the earphones here.
I'm going to pull this just in case.
Yep. So this
Okay.
is one of two of our favorite objects, I say, which is the Kelly's Pub, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Let's flaunt this. Okay.
Yep.
I love it. Okay.
So we have two of these. They were above the bar, I would imagine. We don't have photos of inside the bar.
It was dark.
It was dark in there.
It was scary.
But yeah, Kelly's Pub is where Bin 14 is now.
Yeah, it definitely, if you want to talk about gentrification,
Yeah.
usually it's associated with housing, but
right.
you could talk about it with establishments
Yep,
too.
yep.
And so they did clear it out. I think the family sold it, and then it became the Bin 14 that we know today.
That's right.
On there.
And interestingly, I actually we have the sign. We have the sign.
Yeah.
So let's bring the sign up because the sign is good to see. Here's the sign from
Right.
Kelly's Pub, and also just because we can, here's a photo of ostensibly for a photo of the Madison, but here is Jules Bar and Grill and Pizzeria. And this photo is from the mid-50s.
Right.
So Kelly's Pub was not like a long-standing old thing. It's something
Right.
that might have happened in
Sure.
the late 50s or 60s.
Everyone likes history from their perspective. So if they came to Hoboken
Right.
and Kelly's Pub was there,
Yeah.
they almost can't comprehend
Right.
that it was something before.
Yeah, yeah,
And they go,
yeah.
that can't be true. No,
That's right.
it was always Kelly's.
That's right.
But history is interesting that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you brought this out, I have to say I never hung out at Kelly's.
Neither did I.
And if you hung out at Kelly's, you went in there and I did go in there once, and you saw shot glasses lined up, and they served beers in those
okay.
little glasses, 25 cents.
Uh-huh.
But it was, I don't think they even had a TV, like, black and white, and it was really stripped down,
Wow.
really basic. And then at one point I guess once we opened in here, like, let's say in the early 2000s, we were doing different events, and we actually had a group of women sea shanty singers. We just love this idea of women singing sea shanties.
Wow.
And we negotiated a modest price for them to come.
Right.
But I later found out the real reason they wanted to come to Hoboken, because these were Brooklyn gals, was that they wanted to drink at Kelly's.
Oh my gosh.
So I had no idea the bar had this reputation.
Who knew?
On both sides of the river, but they had a great time, and I think I had to meet them there to hand them some cash for
very
doing
good.
the singing.
Right.
And they were great.
Wow.
And I left kind of quickly, and because it looked like you could, piss someone off just by showing up there.
Sure.
Like this isn't your bar.
Right.
That kind of thing. But I'm sure that was just my first impression.
Yeah.
But Kelly's did go by the wayside, like so many of the other, gin joints
Sure.
in Hoboken,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
On there.
So-
And you keep this above your desk
I
in
do.
the collection.
I do.
So,
Yeah.
I have artifacts like this here. I have a little corner office, and I put certain things there,
Yeah.
and they do make a good story.
They do,
And
yeah.
they kind of remind you why you are still on the search for artifacts
That's right.
for the Hoboken Historical Museum.
Yeah. When I had lived at 1105 Washington
Right.
in the late 80s, and one of my old timer neighbors, Gus, was a Kelly's Pub guy.
Okay.
So that
Right.
was
So-
like my connection was.
Sure. Yeah. This place was not like Cheers.
No.
Okay. But that's that's from the newcomer perspective.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Cool.
We have Gary visiting from North Carolina.
Wow.
So
Is that Gary Berman?
It is.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Gary.
Thank you for all your support over the years. I know the name Berman, and I'm forgetting Mrs. Berman. I'm forgetting her
Oh.
name. Can you type it in? Is she there? Okay. Because she...
the Johnson girls were
she was here?
the sea shanty singers.
Oh, I love that connection. Okay.
They bought a CD.
There you go. Well, they use that cash to drink at Kelly's.
Kelly's, there you go, perfect.
You help support Kelly's. I love that. Oh, it's so funny. I've met so many amazing people over the years through all this, but my memory is usually pretty good.
It is.
But I do have this theory that since we're wearing masks, there's less oxygen going to your head, and
What do you
things
say?
like names are gone. And Beth Berman, who donated these amazing rosary beads that we
cool.
used in one of our Ocean Liner shows, and is in our collection. Let's hear for North Carolina
All
and the
right.
Bermans. Sorry, thank you, Beth, for saying that. Anyway, should we?
I think it's time to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Can we shake hands?
We can. We'll do it. We're going to go wash up right
We're
afterwards.
family.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
family.
that's
We
right.
wore the mask. We're not 6 feet apart. We kind of compromised.
That's right.
So anyway, thanks for checking us out tonight.
Thank you.
And please spread the word.
Yep.
And check out our Mass in the Walkway if you're local.
Yep.
It's hard to do from North Carolina. What on Sunday we're doing a session like this with Lily Zane,
Right.
who's done some beautiful artwork that kind of speaks to this time period.
Right.
Not all artists are dealing with this subject, but Lily
Right.
is.
Right.
And we're also doing a screening in the museum from the Black Mariah Film Festival. We
Right.
got a great film by Joel Katz that deals with
the bus.
the bus line in Kearney, and that you can check out by going to the Black Mariah website. But we're not going to Kelly's, but we'll have refreshments
Yeah,
here
that's right.
if anyone wants to watch it in the museum.
And so just, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little bell so that you get alerts that when we go live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just in
Okay.
case we do something.
I think I hear a bell now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, that's something else.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a lot,
Thanks a
guys.
lot,
We're going to go
everybody.
home and eat dinner
Yes.
and clean up our little studio.
Yep, all right, thank you, good
Be
night.
well, stay safe.
Okay.
Bye
bye-bye.
now.